All right. So the regular meeting of the Civil Service Commission for January 15th, 2025 will now come to order. Welcome in person and online attendees. If you want to provide oral comments on any of the agenda items, please be sure to follow the instructions on the first page of the agenda. If you're attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an item for discussion, when asked, please stand and identify yourself by the name or number, uh, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. Attendees joining this meeting using the Zoom application will alert commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item by using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Please include your name, telephone number, or other identifying feature you selected when logging in, and the agenda item number you want to speak about. Attendees who have dialed into today's meeting, please press *9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on your telephone. We will now commence with the order of business. Will the commission secretary please take roll call?
Commissioner Coleman,
Present.
Commissioner Fletcher, Commissioner Johnson,
Present.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Present. We'll now move to item B, the approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the adjourned regular meeting of December 6, 2024?
Commissioner Johnson moves to approve.
There's a motion by Commissioner Johnson. Is there a second?
Commissioner Coleman seconds.
There's a second by Commissioner Coleman. Sorry, Coulson's a character in Shields. Sorry. Um, is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the commission secretary please record commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. That motion carries unanimously. We will now move to item C, which is non-agenda public comment. Members of the public may address any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission other than the items that are on the meeting, today's agenda. The total amount of time allowed for public comment will be limited to not more than 2 minutes unless the commission president agrees to extend the time. Do any of the attendees want to make a public comment about any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission that is not on today's agenda? If so, and you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom of the screen to inform commission staff. If you dialed in today's meeting, you may press *9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert commission staff. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on the telephone. We will need to wait a minute in the event somebody wants to make a comment and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we have received no request to make a public comment.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to item D, the agenda item discussion. Do any of the attendees want to pull an agenda item for discussion? If you are attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, please stand and identify yourself by name and number, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. If you are speaking for the appellant or complainant, please use their assigned number. If you join today's meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to inform commission staff of the agenda item you wish to speak about. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert commission staff. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on your telephone. We will now need to wait a minute in the event somebody wants to pull an agenda item and attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes.
And I believe we can address this during that minute. Okay. Which item? Just the number. That's fine. Item number 4. You want item number 4? All right. Thank you.
Is there somebody from the department that is present on the call?
There's someone on the from the department who's present for the call, who wants to discuss item 4, please raise your hand.
Okay,
I see it.
Mr. Seward, yes, I see that. Okay.
Okay. So I think the pool just requires one person, right? They don't.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So will we have someone when we go to the item? Okay, cool. All right. So that would mean that item number 4 is pooled for discussion. Where am I? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Next and
Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we have received that one request. So that is duly noted and we'll pull item number 4 and you can ask.
All right. Okay, we will now move on to item E, which is formation of the consent agenda. Will the commission secretary announce the items forming the consent agenda?
Commissioners, agenda items 1 and 5 are automatically pulled for discussion. Agenda item 4 has been pulled by the appellant. Therefore, agenda items 2 and 3 form our consent agenda today.
Very well, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Commissioner Coleman makes a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Commissioner Coleman. Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson seconds. Will the commission secretary please record commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. That motion carries with a unanimous vote. The next item would be the discussion items. Now we will move on to the discussion items. Agenda item 1 is pulled for discussion, which is the election of officers for 2025. May I have a motion for the election of president or vice president of the Civil Service Commission?
Commissioner Coleman makes a motion that Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy for president and Commissioner Fletcher for vice president.
Do you have a second of this motion?
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Coleman to nominate myself and Commissioner Fletcher for vice president. Will the commission secretary please record commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
And that passes unanimously. So thank you. I guess I'm the president now. So we'll now move on to agenda item 4, which is pulled for discussion by the appellant, which is a request to accept a late appeal. So as a reminder, this employee is a peace officer. Please refer to employee as employee or the case number we assigned, which is 2024-064P. We will give the appellant an opportunity to speak, then we will allow the department's representative to respond. You have 5 minutes each. You may now speak. Well, actually, are you ready for
Yeah, you can.
timing? Probably should put a timer on. Once we get that timer up, you will be ready. You'll be good to go. You're good.
Hello, I'm requesting to accept
You can speak
request.
directly into the microphone.
Hello, I'm requesting the acceptance of a 16-day late appeal of an order of termination charges from the sheriff's office. I was unable to submit my appeal within the 10-day mark due to moving from San Diego to Los Angeles because I wasn't able to afford my rent here in San Diego. I was also taking care of my grandfather that's severely ill. He was in and out of the hospital. He has a weak heart, kidney failure, and needs assistance 24 hours a day. Something that I did not include in my appeal letter was the distress I encountered after termination, the embarrassment I felt with my family for losing my career, not being able to help my family financially with my grandfather's medical bills, also overcoming the trauma I experienced as a domestic violence victim. I was ashamed to admit I was a victim of domestic violence due to my position. After termination, I lost hope. I lost the one thing I worked very hard for. I'm here today to show you that I am interested in my career. My late appeal was not due to lack of respect for the department's procedures or negligence. I was wrongfully terminated and I deny all charges. I hope my late appeal is considered. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will now go to the department, which I believe we have Mr. Seward.
Yes.
Mr. Seward, can you, okay, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, you can proceed to give the department's position.
The department believes that the executive officer in this case correctly summarized all of the reasons why this late appeal should be denied, and the department has nothing further to add.
Um,
Is it appropriate to ask a question or two?
Yeah. Yes, you can ask a question of either party.
I have a question for,
Speak directly into the microphone.
yeah, okay. I just, it's impolite to speak and not look. Eh, Apparently you had a conversation with Mr. Adams
That's correct.
about your appeal, and he asked you to file it that day, even though it was a day late. He asked you to file it that day. Why didn't you do it then?
Honestly, I was just going through the motions and I couldn't find myself to start writing that letter. Just that like hope of like maybe I can appeal this. But my head was like all over the place. Like I couldn't find myself to just start writing that letter. Just started overthinking it. And then until I finally had the courage to write the letter and submit the appeal.
If you could speak directly into the microphone so that.
I'm sorry. Did you hear anything that I said?
I did,
I'm sorry.
but I'm sitting closest to you.
Okay. Um, do I repeat myself or?
I heard you.
Mr. Seward, did you hear her response?
Yes, I did. I just believe that factually, we need to make sure that this was not one day. It was 5 days after she spoke with the executive officer before she filed the answer.
So if I heard you right, your mental space was in,
It was,
your head was in just such a mental,
yes,
that
it
you
was all
just-
over the place with my grandfather's health, and then just moving to a different county, losing everything that I worked so hard for, just losing everything. My trauma with domestic violence, just letting everything soak in, and just everything that I went through in such a short amount of time.
during the time that you were going through the internal process, you were represented by an attorney?
Yes, correct.
Did the attorney continue to represent you after you had that internal process complete?
After my termination?
Correct.
Yes, and I did get in contact with him, but he wasn't in the office. So during that week, so the 10-day process, like it just slipped my mind, and he was in there to like remind me of the 10-day.
What were you doing during that 10-day period?
I was moving from San Diego to Los Angeles, also trying to help my grandfather. He was in the hospital, and obviously we needed someone to be there for him because he's not able to move by himself, and he needs assistance with like eating and just moving around. He is older, so someone had to be there for him.
After having been fired from your job, what's your mental state now?
It's better. Um, I started therapy. I'm overcoming my trauma with mental and physical abuse. Um, I I really want this. That's why I'm here today. I drove from Los Angeles to San Diego to be here, just to prove myself that I'm interested in getting my job back. My headspace is better than it was 2 months ago.
Thanks.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay. There we go. All right. So we have heard from the parties. Do any of the commissioners want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a comment. When somebody gets fired from their career, their job, it takes its emotional toll on you because your job is what you are, it's who you are, it's part of your identity, it's how people judge you, it's how you look at yourself. And you get the hardship that she might have gone through. And I think with that said, I would actually bring a motion to reject the recommendation and move to allow the appeal.
I'll second. So we have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to reject the staff, or to, is it really rejecting the staff?
Well,
You can just make a motion.
it would just be a motion to allow the late appeal.
I didn't like
There we
that
go.
language. Okay.
The motion is to allow the late appeal.
There's a motion by Commissioner Johnson to allow the late appeal. I will second that motion. I concur. I think according to the case law, we have discretion to do this if we can determine that the appellant had good cause for which to do so. I do feel that the appellant has done so, and therefore I would like, I'm seconding the motion. So please if the commission secretary would call the roll, or unless there's any discussion. Is there any further discussion? Then
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. All right, and with that, the motion carries. We will allow the late appeal, and I believe commission staff will reach out to you.
Yes, yes, she'll be hearing from Lisa about scheduling.
Thank you so much.
So, and please be responsive to our attempts to just reach out to you about scheduling. Thank you.
I just want to underline that this time, be as responsive as possible, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have, I believe we are moving on to item 5, which is the Commissioner Fletcher's report on a disciplinary hearing. Since Commissioner Fletcher is absent today, the executive officer will read his report on his behalf. Do any of the attendees want to speak about this agenda item? If so, and you joined this meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to alert commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 to raise your hand to alert commission staff. We will need to wait a minute. In the event somebody wants to speak about this agenda item and is attempting to alert commission staff now, will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed. We've received no request to speak about this agenda item.
All right. Hearing none, if you could please proceed with the report.
Appellant 2023-058P, hereinafter referred to as employee, appealed an order of termination and charges removing him from the class and position of deputy sheriff in the sheriff's department, hereinafter referred to as sheriff's office. This was presented to the Civil Service Commission. The commission appointed Commissioner Brian J. Fletcher to hear the appeal and submit findings, conclusions, and recommendations to the Civil Service Commission. Thereafter, a hearing was held on December 2nd, 2024. The causes of discipline were failure of good behavior, conduct unbecoming, intemperance, and acts incompatible with and/or inimical to the public service. Findings of fact. On the evening of September 30, 2022, the employee and his fiancee ended their relationship and their engagement when fiancee told the employee that she did not love him anymore. Despite fiance's statement that their relationship was ending, employee tried to persuade fiancee that they could work things out. Concluding that their relationship was over, and because they both had intended on attending the wedding of a deputy in Fallbrook, they both agreed that they should attend the wedding together to keep up appearances the next day. On October 1st, during the wedding, the employee and fiancé were cordial, did not argue, but while the employee would attempt to reconcile, fiancé did not, consistently making her position clear to him. Employee consumed between 4 to 6 whiskey and ginger ale drinks, and although intoxicated, was coherent in his speech. Following being rebuffed by the fiancé when he again suggested reconciliation, the employee went to the restroom in an emotional and intoxicated state and appeared to be angry, upset, and irate. It was then that Deputy 1 entered the restroom and, observing the employee in this condition, learned about the ending of the relationship. The employee admonished Deputy 1 not to get involved and to not say anything to his fiancé. Deputy 1, in disregard to the employee's admonition, left the employee and went to where fiancé was located and proceeded to tell her that the employee was upset. Deputy 1 returned to the restroom accompanied by fiancé, at which point the employee became angry and Deputy 1 Deputy 1 disregarded his admonition not to speak with fiancé, and an argument ensued. Deputy 2 intervened and stood between employee and Deputy 1, face to face with employee and his back to Deputy 1. As Deputy 2 held on to the employee and pulled him closer, attempting to calm him down, the employee swung his open right hand and slapped Deputy 1 on the left side of his head. Once the employee and Deputy 1 were separated, there was no further interaction until approximately 30 minutes later, at or about 10 p.m., when the wedding reception was ending and participants who had parked in a hotel parking lot away from the venue were taking a shuttle bus for the last ride to the hotel. Deputy 1 and his pregnant girlfriend, Deputy 3 and his wife, and others were on the shuttle bus when the employee climbed aboard. The shuttle bus had rows of 4 seats, each configured so that an aisle ran along the middle of the carriage, with 2 seats on each side. Deputy 1 and his girlfriend were seated approximately 2 rows from the back seats, with Deputy 1 along the aisle and his girlfriend next to the window. And Deputy 3 and his wife were seated in the next row in front of them, with Deputy 3 next to the window. The employee boarded the shuttle bus and proceeded down the aisle toward the rear of the bus, stopping adjacent to the row with Deputy 3 and his wife, then bent over to Deputy 1 and spoke to him in his ear, continuing his argument that Deputy 1 was wrong in becoming involved in the employee's breakup with fiancé. The level of this argument escalated, and because the employee was bending or reaching over Deputy 3's wife, Deputy 3 spoke to tell the employee he needed to leave the bus because the shuttle bus would not depart with the employee aboard. Others began to call for the employee to disembark so that the others could get to their rooms at the resort's hotel or to their cars to leave the venue. The employee first moved to the front of the shuttle bus, but returned toward the back to continue the dialogue. Deputy 3 then told the employee to keep walking and to get off the bus. In anger, the employee took issue with Deputy 3, forcefully telling him to get off the bus and challenged him to a fight outside the shuttle bus. Deputy 4 then stood between the employee and Deputy 3 and Deputy 1 and escorted the employee off the bus. Once outside, the employee continued to yell at Deputy 3 and others, calling Deputy 3 a bitch and banging on the bus and window next to the seat. Over the next 2 days, The employee reached out to some of his colleagues who were present at the wedding, and particularly on the shuttle bus, to apologize for his behavior at the wedding. On October 2nd, 2022, Deputy One contacted employee's now former fiance and during communications that day, asked her out on a date. On October 6th, 2022, the employee went to his first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, AA meeting, and was a regular attendee of AA meetings throughout the county, maintaining sobriety for at least 2 years since the first meeting. For the record, for the period of 3 months ending June 6, 2024, the employee had abstained from the consumption of alcohol based on the lack of ETG, ethyl glucuronide, in his hair sample collected that date. Prior disciplinary actions. This wasn't employee's first discipline for similar misconduct. In 2018, the employee was disciplined following an off-duty incident in the early morning hours of February 5th, 2018, where the employee was found to have been verbally aggressive with fiance at a Super Bowl party in Imperial Beach. The Super Bowl game was on the afternoon of Sunday, February 4th, and the employee had consumed an unknown amount of alcohol, but in a sufficient quantity to become argumentative and verbally aggressive with fiance and others in attendance. Also from this conduct during the investigation of that incident, the employee was disciplined for allowing fiance, who was not an employee of the department, access to his county-issued mobile device using his personal password to delete photos and data from the device. Also in 2018, the employee was disciplined for disclosing to a third party the circumstances of his interrogation in the investigation being initiated related to the Super Bowl party. Conclusions. Employee is guilty of failure of good behavior where, even while off duty, he drank to excess and became combative, struck another deputy with a slap to their face, and upset colleagues and their spouses, dates, and friends with outbursts of anger, challenging others to fight, and yelling swear words and other invectives. In mitigation, the employee's colleague, Deputy One, for reasons not quite clear, disregarded the employee's admonition not to mention to fiance that the employee was in a state of depression over the recent breakup of their relationship. Although the veracity or motive of Deputy One is questionable, less than 24 hours later, Deputy One was on the phone or texting fiance or both, flirting with her and asked her for a date, his pregnant girlfriend notwithstanding, end paren. Clearly, the employee was intoxicated to the point where he lashed out at Deputy One, slapping him in the face with an open palm, simply for disregarding his admonition. Also, Deputy One has provided inconsistent and somewhat incredible statements regarding the incident. Again, there is no dispute about the employee's conduct in slapping Deputy One, then confronting him on the shuttle bus approximately 30 minutes later. Further, the testimony of Deputy 3, his wife, and Deputy 4, coupled with the employee's own admission of the charges, do not excuse the employee's conduct the evening of October 1st, 2022. Employee is guilty of conduct unbecoming members of the department. Colleagues of the employee were embarrassed and concerned about the employee's conduct when he displayed such off-duty behavior, including anger, challenges to fight, and battery on Deputy One, all while intoxicated to the point where he lost control of his actions. Many of the witnesses to this conduct are members of the department and testified that it was clear to them that the employee's conduct had the effect of being embarrassing and thereby bringing disrepute to the department. In aggravation, this is the second off-duty incident within less than 4 years that the employee could not control his anger and conduct after consuming excessive amounts of intoxicating liquor or beverages. Employee is guilty of intemperance in that having been disciplined for off-duty misconduct in a public setting when becoming angry following his consumption of alcohol less than 4 years prior to this incident, he failed to recognize that such conduct in the future should not happen again, and that if it did, there would likely be serious discipline imposed. In mitigation, The employee has taken prompt accountability for his actions and has consistently attended AA meetings, understands that alcohol should never again be a part of his life, and has gained knowledge that he is an alcoholic. He is to be commended for taking such actions to improve his personal life and should be supported for doing so in the future. However, these steps should have been taken earlier, i.e., after the incident that occurred in the early morning hours of February 5th, 2018, for which he was disciplined and served a 15-day suspension. The employee is guilty of acts incompatible with and/or inimical to the public service, where his conduct in the presence of members of the public was adverse to the department's executive order and mission, vision, values, and goals as set forth in its policies and procedures manual. Such conduct was further inimical to the department's core values when the employee should know that as a member of the department, it is expected that he possess the honesty, integrity, and trust to do what is right, even when no one is watching. Level of discipline. It is encouraging that the employee has taken stock in his inability to control himself when consuming alcohol. He recognizes that sobriety is only achieved with abstention, not just temperance. It is not a weakness for the employee to honestly tell the department that he cannot guarantee he will never drink again. Alcoholism is a permanent part of his life and is not uncommon for and it is not uncommon for alcoholics like the employee to return to alcohol with the belief that they can easily handle it in the future. It is reasonable that the employee could not promise sobriety to his command because the future holds no promises of sobriety for the alcoholic. However, the conduct of the employee cannot be excused, nor can it be disregarded with the hope of his continued sobriety. His misconduct was not entirely the result of intoxication. The employee was also in the state of a mind that affected his judgment. Alcohol only provided the additional level of confidence that his anger could be unleashed in a manner that it was that evening. Even if sober, there is no assurance that triggering events will not occur in the future while on duty in law enforcement, which could result in a different calamity to a member of the public. This is precisely the concern of the department. Accordingly, the sheriff's decision to terminate the employee must be upheld. Recommendations. Based on the findings and conclusions set forth above, Commissioner Fletcher hereby recommends the following decision. 1, that the order of termination and charges be affirmed, and 2, that the proposed decision shall become effective upon the date of approval by the Civil Service Commission.
All right. Thank you for reading the report. Would a commissioner like to make a motion?
I'll move to affirm Commissioner Fletcher's recommendation.
There's a motion by Commissioner Johnson to affirm Commissioner Fletcher's recommendation. Is there a second?
A second.
There's a second by Commissioner Coleman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the commission secretary please record commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye. That motion carries with a unanimous vote of those present. That concludes today's meeting. Thank you for attending. The next meeting of the Civil Service Commission is scheduled for February 5th, 2025, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.